going on, y'all? This is Big Ron DeVoe, and you are
What's going on,
hanging
y'all? This
out
is Big
with
Ron
me
DeVoe,
and
and
the
you
pastor,
are
Dr.
hanging
Kelcey
out with
West,
me
right
and the
here.
pastor,
Spreading
Dr.
that love,
Kelcey
boy.
West, right here, spreading that love.
Good morning. Mic check, 1, 2, 3. I said mic check, 1, 2, 3. I am your motivational pilot. Go by the name of Reverend Dr. Kelcey West. Listen, I am so grateful that you are with me today for this special continued edition of the Takeoff Show. So y'all do me a favor, like and share and like. I want you to make sure, amen, that you are flying with the people you need to fly with this morning, because this is our starting from scratch series this week. I don't know how this one fell in my lap, but I'm so glad it did, because this week we need to talk about what we need to talk about. So ladies and gentlemen, don't be scared, don't be embarrassed, don't be ashamed, but I want you, need you, encourage you, amen, to go ahead again, like and share, let people know it is time for the Takeoff Show. And so we just gonna chill just for a moment on the runway before we take off, because it's imperative, amen, that we overcome this current chapter, amen. If you are at that place, amen, that some of us have been to that we don't always talk about, and I'm saying it with a humble heart, if you are at that place called rock bottom, guess what? We've been there before. We know what that feels like, but guess what? This is only a test. And so today, this is part 2, starting from scratch. So this is the Takeoff Show. Get to your seat. Not the seat that you want to sit at, but not the seat that you want to sit in, but the seat that you need to sit in right now in this season of your life. Don't lie. Don't try to dress it up. Just because you have on first class clothes does not mean you're supposed to be sitting in first class. Just because you know everybody in first class does not mean you are supposed to be sitting in first class. This might be the season where the Lord wants you to sit in the very back of the plane. He wants you to sit in the very last row. It is what it is. And so guess what? We have to humble ourselves. God exalts those who humble themselves. And so guess what? Humble yourself. Embrace your reality, because this morning I am preparing myself. Amen. I am preparing myself to unpack a chapter that's not as clear as it should be for people, because sometimes, amen, I tell y'all the streets talk, and sometimes I hear people talk about my story, and I go, man, you don't have a clue what you're talking about, amen, because you think such and such handed something to me. You don't understand the sweat, the tears. You don't understand the hustle nor the grind, because guess what? I haven't always been flowing. And so this morning I might be hustling and flowing, but I had some years where I had to hustle and crawl. I had to hustle and climb. I had to hustle and beg. I had to hustle. And so that's number one, amen. I think that's Jay-Z, don't knock the hustle. If it's not Jay-Z, it might be me then, but I know somebody else has already said it, but don't knock the hustle. And so this morning, as you are boarding the plane, if it is a legal hustler inside of you, amen, I want you to give yourself a great big hand of praise, because I'm proud of you, because you did not give up. There's so many people, amen, who give up not only physically, they give up verbally, they give up mentally. I just need y'all to know I'm allergic to cats like that. I am allergic to that type of talk. It doesn't work well for me, because I know, amen, it could cause me to relapse. And so, again, y'all get on this plane, get in your seat, fasten your seatbelt, because it might get a little turbulent today. Make sure, sir, make sure, ma'am, you lower that tray table. I pray you brought some form of a journal with you, because I tell y'all, man, I'm always jotting, I'm always writing. Writing is therapeutic for me. And so yesterday I had one of my favorite mental health mentors on board yesterday. So shouts out, amen, to one of my daughters in ministry, to Denisha Mingo. She is the CEO, the Don Dada of Solutions for Change. I sit on her board. That's one of my honors right now. I sit on her board. It's an amazing program, ministry, outreach, here in Las Vegas. And so please, sir, please, ma'am, I want you to reach out to her, reach out to Solutions for Change, and get the help that you need. Also want to give a shout out to another one of my daughters in ministry, Reverend Sharita Childress, amen. She oversees, amen, our Shalom ministry at Nehemiah Ministries, amen. She is also a licensed therapist, amen. Reach out to her. And so why are you saying this? Because it's a lot of people that don't understand when you are bouncing back from scratch, when you are starting over from scratch, when you reach rock bottom, it can mess with you mentally. And then guess what? By the time you get to where you're supposed to be, people are celebrating you, they hugging you, they high-fiving you, but very rarely do people ask, are you okay? Do people sit down and say, do we need to talk about the journey? How long did it take you to get here? What did you really have to go through? How dark was your darkest hour? Amen. How hot was your fiery furnace? People don't ask those questions. How many lions were really in your den? Is that why you still jump every now and then when you hear the sound of a lion? Is that why you really don't like to play with fire? Because of what you've been through? How deep, amen, was your Red Sea? Talk back to me, somebody. I just want somebody, amen. I know I told y'all to type something when you board the flight today. I know I put it out there. I needed y'all to type something. Let me look that up because I need to make sure we're obedient, amen. I need somebody to type in the comments. I had to work my way back, amen, because people think, amen, that things have been handed to you. They think that your first name is Carlton, your last name is Banks. They think you've always lived in Bel Air. They think you've always been wearing Ralph Lauren. They think, amen, that you've always, amen, had a father as a judge and a mother as a professor. Talk back to me, somebody. People have no idea. They see you living on the east side, but they don't know where you really come from in Harlem. They have no idea, amen, how, amen, you had to invest everything you had in your first cleaners before you had a franchise. Talk back to me, somebody. I know people see the last episode of Good Times and JJ is now a working cartoonist, amen, and he's now painted this picture of his sister Thelma, and now he's created Dino Woman, amen. I know people think, amen, that it's always been this way, but they don't remember, amen, that you still got the sound of your mama saying damn, damn, damn after your daddy James died down south. People don't know what you've been through, so every now and then you got to stop and remind people they ain't always been like this, amen. Forgive me if I have moments when I celebrate, amen, my todays, because my yesterdays wasn't always wonderful. Forgive me, amen, when I celebrate, amen, what you may not feel is an accomplishment or worth celebrating, but you don't know what I've been through. So ladies and gentlemen, on today, I want you to type in all caps. I had to work. I had to work my way back, amen. If just type it for me. Let's flow today. I had to work my way back, amen, because there are people who don't want to work. It's people who don't want to grind. It's people, amen, who really don't understand. I'm still hustling. I'm still scratching and surviving. I'm still trying to get my piece of the pie. That's why I be up so early, amen. That's why I worked 7 days a week. Talk back to me, somebody. And even when I say work, I'm not talking about physical labor. I understand that God said that we should have a Sabbath day. Man, don't get super biblical and theologically deep with me, because guess what? Even when I'm praying, I'm working, because sometimes prayer takes work, because you got an enemy that don't want you to pray. You got an enemy that's trying to distract you. That's why now we got 1,000 TV channels. That's why now, amen, we got so much coming at us. The whole world is now violent. The whole world is now naked. That's nothing but distractions. And so, ladies and gentlemen, how is it now when it comes to the nakedness of the world, when it comes to the violence? It feels as if the ice cream truck is on every street. It seems like now it's 5 ice cream trucks on the street at the same time. That's the world we live in now. You remember how life was when we were kids? It was one ice cream truck. and you heard that truck from streets away. But now there's an ice cream truck. There's an ice cream truck. There's an ice cream truck. So ladies and gentlemen, we have to remain focused. So ladies and gentlemen, starting from scratch, amen. It's just a reality. This is only a test. You are not by yourself. You are amongst people today, amen, who have had to or who are currently starting from scratch. That's my testimony. It is one of my greatest chapters that people do not understand. And so, ladies and gentlemen, here it is. Yes, I have a degree on the wall that says the University of Nevada, Las Vegas. But what people do not understand, for real, I was expelled, caps, amen. Certified letter coming to the house. You have been expelled from UNLV. So, ladies and gentlemen, the timing of that could not have been worse, amen. I get expelled from UNLV. I'm unemployed at the time. Just had a car repossessed. Are y'all with me today? If my cousin Ronald was not allowing me to live with him, technically I would have been homeless. I'm trying to really paint this picture, amen. I have a major addiction at this time to gambling, amen. This is really going on, y'all. Serious, man. I'm working on my PhD. I'm possibly working on my dissertation at this time in clubology. And so in the midst of all of this, amen, I'm barely turning 21. I may have been, I don't even think I was 21 yet. No, I couldn't have been. I moved here at 18, so I'm 20. I'm 20 years of age. And here I am now. I'm expelled from UNLV. I'm going to say this again. I am expelled from UNLV. I have all of these addictions that I've now really developed since moving to Las Vegas. Amen. I had some of the thoughts when I was being raised in Pontiac, Michigan, but Las Vegas gave me the freedom and the license, amen, to really explore some of the negative, the illegal hustles, amen, that I wanted to get into. And so here it is. I'm all of 20 and now I'm expelled. I'm just trying to paint the picture because I really don't like when people enter into my presence and they talk as if, hey man, I don't have calluses on my hand from holding on to God's unchanging hand. I really don't like when people are in my presence and they never ask to see my knees, to see the scars from when I had to get on my knees and ask God, not for a second chance, but for a fifth and a 10th chance. I get so tired when people are in my presence and they never ask, can I see your side? Because I want to see that thorn that the Lord didn't remove, but how he's graced you since that period of your life. So I'm 20. I'm just trying to paint this picture. I am expelled from UNLV, which means they froze my financial aid. That was important because financial aid was a part of my hustle. I would borrow extra money. Those extra dollars would help me live, amen, because I'm now a long way from Pontiac, Michigan. My family, amen, is in Pontiac, Michigan. I am here, my immediate family. So I have two cousins, amen, that live in Las Vegas, or who lived at that time. My cousin Ronald has since relocated, but my big cousin Butch, amen, he's the second oldest, amen. And so Butch lived here with his beautiful wife, my cousin Gwen, and then Ronald lived here. I lived with Ronald. So at 18, I'm now introduced to freedom. 18, I turned 21. Somebody gonna catch it in a second. 18, by my second, third week in Las Vegas, I'm already hooked on clubs. By the time school rolls around, I'm already turned out. The clubs have turned me out. So shouts out to Uptown, shouts out to the Shark Club, shouts out, amen, to Tramps that became LJs on Flamingo, shouts out, amen, to every dance place, shouts out back in the day, amen, to Tarkanian, shouts out to the Alexis Park, shouts out, amen, to Shades, to any place that had a dance floor, amen, where I was dancing, the Moulin Rouge, amen. You know what time it is. And so I'm telling y'all, I'm in a bad spot. Before I even touched down at UNLV, I've already started working in the Metals Mall. Shouts out to 9 West, used to be located right outside of Dillard's, which gave me a great view of the mall because people always were in Dillard's. People were always in 9 West. So I'm learning a lot of people. You work in the mall, it don't take long. before you got mall hookup. So now I'm building club clout. Now I got mall. Y'all got to really understand who I was at that time. I'm meeting some of everybody in the clubs. I'm 18, really 21. I'm 21 in the clubs, but I'm really 18. I'm working in the Metals Mall, so I'm meeting some of everybody. Amen. I'm meeting Keisha. I'm meeting her aunties. I'm meeting her mama. I'm meeting her grandmama. In between the clubs and the mall, it is on and popping. And so I got hookups all around the Metals Mall. I got all types of illegal hookups. I got a trunk full of shoes and clothes and gear. Man, y'all have no idea. And so I didn't have time for education. I would get dressed to go to school to play spades. I would get dressed to go to school to sit in the student union. I would get dressed. Y'all have no idea, man. I'm getting dressed. I'm rhinestoning my caps. I'm getting dressed, new kicks. I have no idea how many pairs of sneakers I had, how many pairs of sneakers I've gone through, because I would wear a pair of kicks and give them away, because there's nothing like a fresh pair of kicks. That's my truth. And so finally UNLV, they kicked me out. And so I gotta start from scratch. No financial aid. I didn't know what to do. That's my reality. So there's a semester that I sit out. There's a semester, no school. There's a semester where really I'm just wasting time. There's a semester where I had no hustle. There's a semester where I'm getting lazy. There's a semester where embarrassment is starting to kick in. There's a semester where I had to make a decision. I was headed, amen. I'm thinking about leaving Las Vegas. My best friend Kev was a student at Winston-Salem. I'm so glad I didn't go that way, because I would have messed up his journey had I went to Winston-Salem. The two of us together in college, Lord have mercy. I know that would have been a problem, because the first time I went to Winston-Salem, I hadn't even been on campus for an hour before we were planning a party that we looked up and 200 people were at our party. That's my first time in Winston-Salem. That's a whole nother broadcast. But then I was also thinking about moving to Miami. Why Miami? I have no idea. But I was headed to Miami. And so that's a whole nother story. I thank God I did not move to Miami. And so I stayed in Las Vegas. So somebody needs to hear this. If you are starting from scratch, running is not always the answer. Running is not the answer. Amen. Especially when you're running in the wrong direction. If you don't believe me, read the book of Jonah. So this morning, I need to give y'all some things to think about, some things to chew on, because that's what we do on the Checkoff Show. So number one, write this down. Let me hit this volume. Amen. Amen. I'm not sure who just hit me, but that's cool. Good morning. And so I need somebody to write this down in the comments. When you are starting from scratch, you have to find a rebound in place. Rebounds in basketball, that's the act of possessing the ball after a missed shot. That's all a rebound is. It's the act of possessing the ball after a missed shot. So ladies and gentlemen, you have to find a rebound in place. I am wearing, amen, a blue with a yellow coyote paw on it. Why are you wearing that hat today? Because CSN saved my life. I'm going to say it again. Community College of Southern Nevada became my rebound in place. They will never ever have to ask me to do anything. They will never have to beg me to do something. If there's a board I can serve on, if there's something I can do on their campus, they have my yes. Why? Because it became my rebound in place. I want to give a great big shout out and thank you to the West Charleston campus, because during that semester it hit me. I made a decision. I'm going to work my way back to UNLV. I called UNLV one day and I said, excuse me, I'm accepting the reality. I've been expelled. What does that mean? Am I permanently expelled? Will I never be able to obtain my degree? The lady said, no, this just means you're going to have to do something to prove to prove unto us that you are worthy of being admitted back. And I said, okay, where does that begin? And she said, you need to consider going to community college and starting over. No problem. And so I get a ride. I think my cousin Ronald may have dropped me off somehow. I got a ride to West, to the Cheyenne campus, and that started my journey. that started my journey where I had to bust my butt off. Y'all remember, now I'm living by the Metals Mall. And so, but I got to get to the Cheyenne campus every day. I got to figure this out. How am I going to get to the Cheyenne campus? I live at the Metals Mall, by the Metals Mall. I do not have a car. But I got to get to this campus. I got to not only get to this campus, but then I got to find work. So I got to figure out, how do I get to campus? How do I get to work? I got to figure all this out. By the way, I still got this addiction to the clubs. And so all of this is going on at the same time. But I get to this campus, and it became my rebounding place. And so, ladies and gentlemen, you got to find you a place where you can get the ball back. And guess what? The ball does not always bounce to you. You have to learn how to go get the ball. You got to learn the time. And this is why Dennis Rodman is one of my favorite basketball players, because Dennis Rodman, he studied basketball so much. He could tell by the rotation of the ball or the sound of it hitting the rim where the ball would go. So, ladies and gentlemen, you got to keep your eye on your ball. You got to keep your eye on, and when I say ball, let me break this thing down. Some of you, you're going to have to go get your mission back, your vision back, your purpose back. Excuse me, your voice back. You're going to have to go get your courage back, your conviction back. Whatever it is you know you lost, you got to go get it back. And you have to find a rebounding place. You have to go find a place that's going to give you an atmosphere, amen, where you can bounce back because you're starting from scratch. Community college gave me that, because guess what? They had these quiet rooms. I would go into the quiet rooms of the library, and I would sit. And as I would sit, I would have to make decisions. What am I going to do with my life? Because right now I'm at a crossroad. Right now I'm at a real fork in the road. Right now I'm at a point that's either going to make or break me. So what am I going to do? And crying is not an option. Or having a woe is me is not an option. And guess what? I ain't told none of y'all this. Guess what? My mama don't know nothing about this. My daddy don't know. I have not told them I've been expelled, because guess what? It was my problem. I got myself into it. I'm going to get myself out of it. This is why I struggle with grown people, amen, especially men who be stressing their mom out. Man, I just be wanting to choke cats out. You stressing your mom out? How your mama know about all of this stuff, man? Man, roll up your sleeves and stop all this crying and testifying and for real, be a man, amen. I'm not trying to be too disrespectful, but sometimes you got to grab your kahunas, amen, and just be a man about some stuff. So I never told my mom I was expelled, never told her I was going through. Why? Because I got myself into it. I got to get myself out of it. So I had to find a rebounding place. CSN became that. It was away from my normal neighborhood. It was away from my normal circles. It was away from the people that I had been hanging out with. So I needed a rebounding place. I needed a place, amen, where the people really didn't know me. I needed a place, amen, where I could really, amen, learn. I had to start over. I had to really let me go through a whole, let me for real, go through freshman orientation. Let me really learn how to pick classes. Let me really learn how to go to class and get the syllabus and really understand the rules, what this syllabus is all about, and why I need to be in class even when the teacher said I didn't have to be in class. Let me really understand why I need to buy the books, even though the teacher may be saying it's optional. I had to learn all this stuff. Let me for real, learn how to take college notes. Let me for real, learn why people are going to these groups called study. Let me really find out what this building is all about that says library. Amen. I know I've been to the library before. I know I've had a library card all my life, but let me really go into this place and really understand why people major in researching. So I had to go into this library, and I had to start researching. Watch where I'm going. It wasn't time for me to research my ancestors. It wasn't time for me to research, amen, Black history. It wasn't time for me to research anything but who I was. And so I had to sit and I had to research and I had to soul search and I had to seek and discover not only who he is, and I hadn't even got to that point yet, so let me not lie. I ain't even got to my walk with God yet. These are still my lost years. God's grace is so amazing and his mercy endures forever because I ain't even got to that part yet. This is just me trying to define me. Amen. I wish somebody would type that in the comments. Be honest. Amen. I just need to find me. If that's your season, I'm not about to cast you in hell. I just want you to be honest. You need to find you. I had to find me. So that Cheyenne campus, that became my rebounding place. It became a safe refuge for me. It became a place, amen, it wasn't as large as UNLV. There were no spade tables at that time. Amen. I didn't have access to my running rebel athletes, amen. I just did not have access. The Cheyenne campus didn't have a club across the street like UNLV did. It just did not have the amenities that UNLV had, and that's what I needed. Some of y'all need to downsize. Some of you got access to too many amenities. Some of you got access to your past. Some of you got access, amen, to the people, places, and things that make you be what you really are not. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm just here to encourage you. Find you a rebounding place. And so that's what the Cheyenne campus was for me. It became my rebounding place. Please, sir, please, ma'am, don't be ashamed. Don't be embarrassed, amen. I was not on the Cheyenne campus wearing my UNLV stuff. I became a for real student of community college. That's why y'all see what I'm repping, amen. I tell people every chance I get, please do not read my bio and skip over the line that says after being expelled. Yes, I graduated. My degree came in 1996, but after I was expelled. That's my truth. And so the Cheyenne campus, I ended up going from the Cheyenne campus, and then I finished at the West Charleston campus before I got back to UNLV. So we'll talk about that in my third point. Nevertheless, the community college became my rebounding place. I need to ask somebody. You can type it in the comments if you want, but if you have a rebounding place, where is it? Maybe it's church, maybe it's home, maybe it's a community center. I don't know. What's your rebounding place? Maybe it's the gym, maybe it's your therapist's office. I don't know, but where is your rebounding place? And if you don't have one, I want you to find one. This is where you go to get clean. This is where you go to get help, because guess what? I needed to detox. So the Cheyenne campus, amen, it became my halfway house. It became I had to put myself on house arrest. I wish I had some real G's on this flight this morning. I had to put myself on house arrest. I had to put my own ankle bracelet on me because I had it to. I needed to rebound. Man, listen, don't play with me. Don't. If you're not gonna really testify, take that down the street. I testify on the for real. And so I had to really come clean and honest with myself. Amen. I have messed up. Amen. Every now and then I wish people would just type in the comments, I messed up. It's okay. Let's rebound. I missed that shot. Okay. Go get the rebound. Stop blaming mama. Stop blaming daddy. Stop blaming where you from, and admit I missed that shot. As a matter of fact, I never should have shot that shot. And since I shot it, the least I can do for myself and my team is go after the rebound. That's one of the first rules we learned when we first started hooping. The coach always said, follow your shot. And so, ladies and gentlemen, follow your shot. Just because you shoot it doesn't mean it's going in. And so you've had great ideas that didn't materialize into a winning bucket. So follow your shot. Go get the rebound. Oh, woe is me. I can't believe this is happening. It's happening to me because the devil is busy. No, you just shot a shot you shouldn't have shot. Whether you were a Virgo or a Sagittarian, you were going to miss that shot. Whether you from the East Coast or the West Coast, you were going to miss that shot. Why? Because it was not the shot that the Lord wanted you to take. It is what it is. Now, guess what? All things do work together for the good. I get that. But guess what? There are some shots, amen, that you know, that I know, that you no. The Lord did not tell you to take. You were leaning to your own understanding when you didn't go to class. You were leaning to your own understanding when you were drinking 4 or 5 times a week. You were leaning to your own understanding when, hey, dear, have a great day. You were leaning to your own understanding when you were majoring, amen, in everything but psychology and biology or whatever your major was supposed to be. Mine was communication, amen. That was what I was supposed to be majoring in, communication, but I was majoring in any and everything but that. So ladies and gentlemen, find you a rebounding place. Where is it? If you have it, share it, because you may help somebody else. They may not even know to look in that direction. Mine was the campus of Cheyenne, the community college campus on Cheyenne. So parents, if your child is going to CSN, please don't put a just in front of it. I hate it when I hear people say, I'm just at CNN. Why is it a just? Amen. You're taking college level classes. Why is it a just? Amen. You're about to obtain your associate's degree, which leads to the bachelor's, which leads to the master's, which leads to the PhD or the doctoral studies. So why are you putting just? Amen. Talk back to me, somebody. You remove that just. It's not a less than. That's where you're at. And so, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to say it one more time. That's my rebounding place. You have to find you a place where you can go get the ball back. I'm going to say it again. I need somebody to come clean this morning and admit I need to get the ball back. You've been letting other people bounce your ball. You've been letting other people shoot your ball. You've been letting other people take your ball home. I need somebody to declare and decree in the comments, I need to get my ball back. That's my ball, amen. Because I'm telling y'all, man, it drives me crazy when I see people doing stuff that I know the Lord told me I should have done. I hate when I see ideas I had materialized through other people. I'm going, man, God gave me that album first. God gave me that beat first. God gave me that book first. God gave me that business first. But because, amen, I was not where I was supposed to be, let me rebound and let me start over. Again, ladies and gentlemen, this week we're talking about starting from scratch. So guess what? You need a rebound in place, but I need somebody to write this down. You better find you a resourceful place. Resourceful place. Amen. When I got to CSN, again, I had to get away from the student unions. I had to get away from the spade tables. I could still play spades. Amen. And some of y'all don't understand, man. I used to play spades for money. And so when I talk about my spade game, man, this ain't no joke with me. I can play some cards. Amen. Dominoes, I play dominoes to be social, but spades is how I used to eat. Amen. I'm serious about them spades. And dominoes is number 3. Amen. I was a spade player, and then I could throw them dice. That's all I'm going to say. I'm a spade player, and I used to throw dice, amen, to eat. So, amen. So take that down the street, amen. And so you got to find your resourceful place. I didn't have resources. That's what I discovered. So people now, they say, man, Wes, you all over the place. You doing too much. Man, you don't have a clue what you're talking about. To help my people, I got to have resources. To help my people, I got to know people in the community. To help my people, I got to know where to go for help. So this is why I'm in meetings on top of meetings. This is why I'm shaking hands. This is why I take so many selfies. Why do you take selfies, man? There's so many levels and layers to this, man. Sometimes I got to take selfies so I can remember, amen, okay, this is who this person was. We were at this meeting together, because sometimes, amen, it's just like when y'all watch, amen, remember American Gangster, they had all them pictures on the wall. Sometimes you got to have your own wall so you can connect dots, okay? I need to see this person to get to that person. I need to see this person to get to this person. I can't tick this person off because they connected to these resources. See, some of y'all don't really know how the streets work. And so, ladies and gentlemen, you got to have resources. When I was at community college, I had to go to the rooms that had resources. So I learned how to develop relationships with guidance counselors. I learned how to develop relationships, amen, with the job banks. I learned how to develop develop relationships, amen, with student government. I'm going to say it again. You got to learn to find resources. All this sitting around waiting, hoping that the phone is going to ring. You got to go to the resources, man. Resources, amen, don't knock on your door like Jehovah's Witnesses. Resources, amen, don't ride around on bikes like the Mormon church. You got to go to the resources, and you got to let the resources know this is what I need. And so I would get to campus early. I would stay late. Remember, I do not have a car. So some days I would get dropped off. Let's just say classes were between 9 and 1, maybe 9:1, 9:2, something like that. So let's just say that I'm on campus. I'm getting dropped off. So I'm there as early as 8, 7:30, 8. I got to wait for somebody to pick me up. So I may be on campus until 3. I got time before class, in between class, after class. I've already learned playing spades don't help my GPA. So what am I going to do? Let's use this time to tap into resources. Let's use this time to have conversation with faculty. Let's use this time to talk to students who are in front of me. I started asking students, man, what are you doing? What's your major? What are you doing, amen? How do you study, amen? What are some best practices? What are you reading outside of the required reading levels, amen? What are you a part of in the community? Are there some things I should join? So ladies and gentlemen, go find your own resources. Go find, amen, what you need. I'm talking to somebody, man. Build your own Rolodex. Go get you a Rolodex, amen. Have you some contacts. I'm talking to somebody. So you got to find a resourceful place, amen. Because some of y'all, you have committed yourself to going to dry places, amen. You have committed. I watch some people, amen, and they are dedicated to dry places. That place ain't producing nothing. That's a whole nother conversation. That's why when people say, man, when I hear in the streets and somebody said, man, they leaving me to go partner with somebody else, I say, man, that's cool, but I just ain't seen that side produce anything. That's cool. If you're going to leave me, but don't leave me for a dry place. Say, man, don't leave me to not have any resources. But if that's what you went to, then go do you. But over here, we in the resources. Over here, I don't want to call secretaries. I want to call bosses. Over here, man, listen, man, over here, we want local, national, and global contacts. Why? Because we understand resources matter. Somebody type that in the comments for me. Resources matter. And so if you are starting from scratch, I need you to make a list right now of the resources you need to bounce back. Make a personal, private list. What are the resources I need? I need you to make a list. Who do I need to meet? Because guess what? I carry a hit list. There are some people I want to meet. That's why I tell y'all, I put it on Facebook. I came close. Amen. One of the persons that's in my book, I want to meet Barry Gordy. I have yet to meet Barry Gordy, but I came close. I was able. Sister Alicia Taylor, amen. She has a cigar brand. Amen. Smoking Bullet Cigars. This is Alicia Taylor. We went to UNLV together. Her and her husband. This is their cigar brand. And so she invited me, amen, to a private meeting at the 8 Cigar Lounge at the Resorts World, amen. So I go there and I'm sitting down. I noticed this young lady. I'm going, man, she looks awful familiar. I don't want to assume anything. I introduce myself. She say her name and I say, now you got to tell me, what's your relationship to Mr. Gordy? She said, I'm his daughter. I said, okay, bet boom. It's a pleasure to meet you. And so we sat, we talked about her dad. I told her how much he has influenced me. So I'm a step closer to meeting one of the people I want to meet. Ladies and gentlemen, life is too short. Stop being afraid to put it out there in the atmosphere. This is who I want to meet. I keep telling y'all, there are some people I want to meet, man. And guess what? It's my list. Your list is your list. You may have Oprah at the top of your list and Tyler Perry. And I'm not saying they not on my list, amen. But it's some people I just want to meet. It's going to shock you when I tell you this, amen. One day at Nehemiah, we're in the parking lot. My main man, DJ Thump, he said, Pastor, because he say, Pastor. That's how he talk. Come over here. So he had me come over to this beautiful white sports car. And who driving that sports car? It's my man, Al B. Sure. Somebody going, man, what's the big deal about me now, Al B. Sure? See, I have no idea about that Mount Erning love. And so Al B. Sure is in the car. I say, man, it is a pleasure to meet you. You are on my list. Why was Al B. Sure on your list? Because Al B. Sure's first producer went by the name of Kyle West. And when I was in the 11th grade, when he dropped his first album, he kept saying, Kyle West, break it down. I wrote in my yearbook, when I ever have a son, I'm going to name him Kyle West. Boom, there you go. And so the first time I meet Al B. Sure, I say, hey, man, I just want you to know I have a son now, amen, and his name is Kyle West. He said, for real? So we dapped up. Fast forward, amen, we at the New Edition Culture Tour. Who walks up to me? Mr. Al B. Sure. This time I'm standing with Kyle West. I say, Kyle West, meet Al B. Sure. Al B. Sure, meet Kyle West. Ladies and gentlemen, you got to have a list of people you want to meet, amen. So when I'm flashing these pictures of people I've stood next to, people I've met, that's just me saying, Lord, thank you for allowing me, amen, to meet the people, amen. I told you I wanted to meet. And so President Barack Obama, I wanted to meet him. Amen. The first time I met him, I didn't even know who he was. He was a senator running against Hillary Clinton. I didn't know who he was. I was just asked to give a prayer at a Democratic debate. I didn't know who he was, but after I shook his hand, I was like, man, this man is somebody. He stood tall, amen. His voice was so different. And so that was the first time I met him. Then after he became president, I was able to meet him a few more times. I've met some presidents, amen. I'm honored by that. I've met vice presidents, amen. It was so cool, amen. A year or so ago, Vice President, amen, Kamala Harris, invited my wife and I to D.C. We went to her home for a Christmas party. Man, holla at your boy, man. You got to write this stuff down. You got to speak it in the atmosphere, amen. And you got to let it be known. This is who I want to meet. And guess what? You may not know. They may want to meet you, or they may need to meet you, because you don't know who you are. David was not always the king. He was the shepherd boy. But some people need to meet you while you tending to the sheep. Y'all, I'm going to say it again. Some people don't need to meet you after you become king. Some people need to meet you while you still tending to the sheep, because just like they are a resource for you, nobody knows how one day you may become a resource for them. So guess what? I'm honored, amen, when people tell me, I've been trying to get your number. You've been trying to get my number. Yeah, I've been trying to connect with you. Man, that's why I was late this morning, because I had a business meeting and from a whole nother situation. And somebody said, man, I represent somebody and they've been watching you and we need to set up a special meeting. Well, guess what? I can hold off on the takeoff show for half an hour. So let's set this meeting up. Man, listen, resources matter. You can't help your people. You can't help yourself without resources. And so community college helped me with resources. That job board helped me find employment. That job board, amen, helped me find groups where I could go in and just get my mind right. Educational rooms that I could be in that just helped me, amen, bounce back. And so you need to find you a resourceful place, amen. This is a serious question. Before you pay another membership, before you align yourself with anybody, I need you to really ask this question. What can you really do to help me move an inch? What can you really do to help me get to a next level? And if they can't answer that question, you got to really help me understand, why are you pledging allegiance to that organization? I'm serious about that, man. Listen, I'm a part of some organizations. I sit on boards, but it have to make sense. Every year I have to do an annual assessment. Is this relationship like this? Is it worth my time? Time is valuable. I'm 54. I'm reminiscing right now about something that took place 34 years ago. This is 34 years later. Time waits for nobody. Here's a third one. Write this down. You got to find a reassuring place. And I hope I spelled reassuring correctly. If I didn't, somebody type it in the comments so I can fix it. I don't have time to fix it right now, but I was rushing. But you got to find you a reassuring place. Amen. So watch this. I may not know how to spell it, but I know what it feels like. I know what it feels like to have somebody reassure you. I wish somebody would type in the comments, true that, because if you are starting from scratch, you need, amen, words of affirmation that's going to reassure you. That's what community college did for me. Community college, when I would meet with my counselors, they would reassure me that we're here to help you get back to UNLV. We're here to help you, amen, get back on track so you can go get that degree. We're here to show you what you need. Ladies and gentlemen, you need a reassuring place, amen. Listen, I got my community college cap on. I got my jacket that say Pastor West, amen. I haven't always been Pastor West, amen. But look on my back, man, amen. That's my 32nd Street Theater logo, amen. And so community college reassured me that I was going to be somebody in Las Vegas. It happened when I took business 101. After I left the Cheyenne campus, I took all the classes I could there. Then they told me, now you need to go to West Charleston, and they have some more classes that you can take before you apply to go back to UNLV. I love community college. Somebody asked me why. For this reason. I'm from a small city. Y'all got to remember this. I'm not from Las Vegas. People all ask me all the time, didn't you go to Western? No, my wife went to Western. I used to hang out at Western when I moved here because they had that basketball team when I moved here in 1989. That was a cold basketball team because I was reading USA Today and it said Western High School ranked number 1, ranked number 2, and it said Las Vegas. I said, man, we got a high school squad here ranked nationally. I got to go see them. So I would walk over to drive over. I had my Mustang then, but I would drive over and watch those guys play at Western. That was an amazing basketball team. Nevertheless, I get to West Charleston campus and I'm taking classes. And so I go over there. They say, these are the classes you're going to take. After you take these classes, they're going to help you, put you in position to go reapply at UNLV. Each step of the way, they kept reassuring me. Ladies and gentlemen, stop giving your ear to people that don't reassure you everything is going to be all right. Stop giving your ear to people who remind you of your past more than they ever talk about your future. Stop giving. You give your ear to people. I'm talking to somebody right now. You give your ear to negative talk, negative thinkers, negative, man, negative. No, I needed a reassuring place. And so I'm so grateful I got to West Charleston, because when I get to West Charleston, this is my testimony. I'm going to tell it to the day I die. I get to West Charleston, I take business 101. We got one semester project, and it's to write a business plan. I write that business plan, and my professor, Caucasian fellow, amen, a Caucasian brother from another mother, Professor Jackson, says, son, you ought to do something with this. I said, do what? He said, you ought to make it happen. And I said, are you serious? He said, yes, I'm very serious. He said, can you tell me something more about 32nd Street Theater? Ladies and gentlemen, you got to look at my logo, amen. This is my Death Row logo. This is my Bad Boy logo. This is my So Def logo. This is my No Limit logo. Ladies and gentlemen, this is my Coca-Cola. This is my McDonald's, amen, or McDowell's for my Coming to America fans. This is my logo, amen. And I had to be reassured on the campus of West Charleston that God was not through with me. I needed reassuring that God had not forsaken me. I need reassuring, amen, that despite the fact I had been expelled, amen, that God was still, he could use me despite being expelled to help other kids, amen, experience college life on HBCUs and PWIs, amen, because this is what people don't know, man. Tell the whole story. Not only do I visit HBCUs, but man, we take students to visit Georgetown. I've been to North Carolina. I've been to Duke, amen. I've played basketball. How many of y'all can say that? I played basketball in Camden Arena. Holla at your boy, amen. So we take students. Yeah, we at FAMU, but I got to pass Florida State State to get the FAMU. And so, amen. So we and then watch this. This is another proud moment, amen. One of my nieces, amen. And I don't play with the word niece. Everybody is not a niece, but one of my nieces, amen. That's Trinity Ely, amen. She went on our Black College tours, but I'm so proud because in a few days, she's starting her 3rd year. This graduation I need to get to in person, and that's when she walked across the stage at LSU. Did y'all hear what I said? Man, I'm just as proud. I'm gonna be just as proud of that LSU degree as I would be if it said Howard University or Spelman, because the purpose of our program when I wrote it was to expose, amen. I ain't on nobody's payroll. There isn't not one HBCU that sends me any type of a check, amen. So I'm just exposing high school students to all of them, because guess what? What fits you may not fit me. What works for you may not work for me. And so, ladies and gentlemen, you got to find you a reassuring place. You are starting from scratch. You need to get around some people who know what that's like. You got to get around some people that's going to speak life to you. You got to get around some people who already have their sleeves rolled up. You got to get around some people who understand what it means to work while it is day. You got to get around some people that's going to tell you don't give up, because guess what? I'm at West Charleston campus. I told y'all everything I had. And so guess what? It reassured me if I just get me a job and save my money, I can get me a car. I got me a car, 81 gray Maxima station wagon. Lord have mercy. I love that vehicle. I wanted me a station wagon because it was a barber here, one of the slickest dressers I ever seen in my life. Ricky Red, he had a purple Honda station wagon. I was like, man, I got to get me a station wagon. I just thought that was so cool. So that gray Maxima station wagon I had, and I put some rims on it, that was my tribute. That was me paying homage to Ricky Red. So, man, listen, man, you ain't got to hate, you appreciate. And so I got me a car, got me a job, got me a car. One piece at a time. I need somebody to write that in the comments. It's one piece at a time. Amen. Got me a job. I started saving money. Got me a car. Amen. And so now let's put this thing back together. Cheyenne campus. I got to go here. I got to do all I can here. Now I got to go to West Charleston. Do all I can here. Now I got to apply for UNLV. That's a whole nother story in itself. But let's just go back before I land this plane, because I need to make sure y'all got what I needed y'all to get today. You have to find a rebounding place. Community college helped me rebound from embarrassment. It helped me rebound from shame. It helped me rebound from a place of not knowing what to do. That's what that campus did for me. Number 2, you have to find you a resourceful place. Stop investing all of your time in people, places, and things that do not produce resources. I don't go meetings that if I don't walk away with some notes, this was a waste of my time. If I don't walk away with a new contact, a new network, this was a waste of my time. We might as well play spades. If this is the same group that's always together, we might as well have just played spades. And so I need it. Meetings should always produce some real resources, especially if it's bosses in the room. Amen. Trust me on that. And then thirdly and lastly, find you a reassuring place. You are going to rebuild. I'm speaking life. The plane is landing as you are raising your tray table, as you are unfastening your seatbelt. I'm speaking to you as the pilot of this plane. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the next chapter of your life. Welcome to Amen. Welcome to life after scratch. Welcome to Amen. Another opportunity. Don't mess it up. Don't blow it. You know what you did last time. Learn from that. Own it. Amen. But we're not going to make that same mistake again. And guess what? If this is your 3rd opportunity, 4th opportunity, 5th opportunity, you know better. So ladies and gentlemen, let's start from scratch. Today is Tuesday. Oh my God, I can't make this up. It is August 5th, 2025. I gotta say this. It is August 5th, 2025. Will y'all give me a moment just to give God praise and glory for August 5th, 2025? It's August 5th. August, that's the 8th month of the year. 8 in the Bible is a new beginning, amen. David is the 8th son of Jesse. Ruth is the 8th book of the Bible. Ruth and Boaz had to meet so they could produce Obed, who produced Jesse, who produced David. 8, amen, is the number of people who went into the ark. Noah and his wife, Noah's 3 sons and their wives. 8 total people went into the ark. God said, I'm going to use these 8 people to repopulate the world. 8 is the number of new beginning. 5 is grace and mercy. Lord have mercy. David had 5 smooth stones when he defeated Goliath. Amen. 5 is grace and mercy. David didn't beat Goliath because he was super skilled with the slingshot. For all we know, David played the harp better than he slung the slingshot. But David was able to defeat Goliath because he had grace and mercy on his side. It's August 5th, 2025. When you get to the 2025, can we just focus on 25? 25 is the number of 5 times 5. Lord have mercy. Can y'all see the supernatural grace God is going to release this year? Can you not see the supernatural, amen, the mercy that's because God is able to do things that he can abundantly, amen. And so you got to expect, amen, this year to be a year of supernatural release. Today is August 5th, 2025. I double dog dare you to get to the place that you need to be, because today, don't wait for tomorrow. Today is today. You're going to find that rebounding place, that resourceful place, and that reassuring place. When you get on the flight tomorrow, I'm just asking you to come clean and say, motivational pilot, I found it. Now, if you're not going to look for it today, amen, don't blame me. But I double dog dare you to seek the Lord, not with some, but with your whole heart. Seek the Lord today. Don't lean to your own understanding, but I challenge you to ask the Lord, order my steps. I challenge you to ask the Lord, amen, to help me navigate across this sea. I double dog dare you to ask the Lord to help you be cool in this fiery furnace today. I double dog dare you to ask the Lord to be with you in this lion's den today, because I'm a living witness, amen. On the other side of scratch is survival. On the other side of scratch is successful. And somebody may say, well, Pastor West, I've never heard you count a million. You don't have to have a million to be successful. I've never seen pictures of your mansion. You don't have to live in a mansion to be successful. Amen. I'm successful, amen, because I'm doing God's will. That's it. I'm dropping the mic on that one. I'm successful, amen, because I know who I am. Amen. I'm successful, amen, because I'm about my Father's business. However you define success, I'm going to applaud you. But don't try to get in my head and make me feel I'm less than because I'm not doing what you want me to do. But as long as I'm doing what I'm supposed to do, to God be the glory. So, ladies and gentlemen, I've said what the Lord told me to say for this flight. Let me, amen, open up these doors so you can exit. Oh, I got one more thing to say. Thank you for letting me be myself. Be blessed.